Today, straight edge has a huge influence on my life. It pretty much is how I think.
Straight edge to me meant my whole life. It's not using drugs, not abusing drugs.
For me, it's a lot deeper than that, and it's more about a friendship and a community, I guess.
It just didn't mean to me what it used to, and I didn't really need it anymore.
At this point in my life, straight edge doesn't mean as much as it did back 7 years ago. For me, it's really just a couple of words now. Doesn't really mean anything to me anymore.
I wouldn't necessarily say that I carry the title anymore, but I still kind of just live the same way.
It was the fall of 1998. I was just starting high school. Like everyone else, I just wanted to fit in. My high school was no different. We had all the usual cliques. But there was also another group. They called themselves Straight Edge.
Straight edge is basically a commitment.
A group of ideas or beliefs.
It's just a philosophy, I guess. And you don't do drugs, you don't smoke cigarettes, you don't drink alcohol.
And basically just promotes positivity in my life.
They were passionate about what they believed in. They wore it on their clothes, they tattooed it on their bodies, and if pushed, they were even willing to fight for it.
It's an issue of pride, not just because you're straight edge, but because you're a teenager and that's the way it is, to fight back and to defend the things that you believe in, defend your friends, to defend the actions you've taken in your life, often by coming to blows, and that's the way it is because that's what kids do.
It was this passion to separate yourself from the regular crowd, to be different, to have your own identity and your own unique voice that made me fall in love with the straight edge movement. For others, it was for different reasons.
I was drawn to straight edge because I saw a lot of my friends doing it. My brother had been straight edge and all of his friends were, and I always looked up to all of them.
It just seemed to be what a lot of the cooler kids were doing. And I was into the whole punk rock and hardcore thing, so I just think it kind of drew me to it.
I didn't really like where my life was going, and I had a friend that I really respected that was straight edge.
My mom and my stepdad were into drugs. My dad drank very heavily, smoked his whole life.
I felt that I was kind of a product of my environment, and I kind of wanted to break the cycle.
I fell in love with it. To me, it was the greatest thing ever. There were so many positive aspects.
Kept me, from drinking any more than I used to.
Keeps your mind clear of anything negative, really.
It gives you this spine that you just don't have when you're 14 years old. Even though you pretend you're made of steel, it's just not there.
But after a while, my feelings toward straight edge started to change. The negative aspects started to show through.
The normal stuff, getting into fights and causing mischief, and getting kicked out of school because of that.
Well, I mean, I know I'm straight edge and whatnot, but when I hear straight edge, for me, I just think violence.
It's got a gang mentality.
You get a very bad reputation from being straight edge.
The same passion that I fell in love with started to push me away. Inside me, a conflict raged. Was this really the positive lifestyle I had originally thought?
Having fun, partying without doing drugs, drinking.
Or was what outsiders said about us true?
It gets a really bad name. Some of the people take it to an extreme and would beat up other people or, just cause harm.
By my late 20s, I was no longer straight edge, and neither were most of my friends.
You know, it was just to the point where I didn't need it anymore, and a lot of the people that I had relationships with that were straight edge, they were out of my life, and you know, I didn't really want much to do with them, like personally, or even like be labeled as some of the same things that they're labeled. Like I didn't want to be grouped in with them, so.
I choose not to drink or do any kinds of drugs based on my own choice. It has nothing to do with straight edge or not.
But the reality is that as people I respected and cared about started to sell out, and I saw some of them did drop off the face of the earth, some of them did take a lot of bad roads, but some of them are just as great a people as they ever were. And it really does change your perspective on what exactly straight edge does play in your life.
But at this stage in my life, I'm an adult. I don't abuse anything, you know, and I don't require validation from anybody else or anything else anymore, so.
This is really hard for me right now just because in my life right now I've been really questioning whether or not I should continue to tell people I am straight edge because of all the negative aspects.
I needed straight edge earlier in life because I was making bad decisions, and I felt that straight edge was something that I couldn't turn my back on, and it did help me.
And it's not something I'm ever going to teach my daughter about, or my kids. It's not something that I care to make a prominent fixture in my household. But that being said, I just don't know where I would have ended up if I hadn't had straight edge.
Whether directly or not, straight edge is a big reason, you know, why I have a lot of the relationships that I still have today. You know, most of my friends I met through being straight edge, or at least going to hardcore shows, which I probably never would have got into hardcore if it wasn't for straight edge. And, you know, I met my wife at a hardcore show, so, you know, a lot of my friends now are still straight edge, and I think it's still a cool thing for them. It's still a positive thing for them, and, you know, I learned a lot about life from being straight edge, I think. So it definitely was more of a positive than a negative.
Straight Edge was like our first true romance. It was the first thing to give us the attention we wanted. Like most high school romances, it wasn't meant to be. I'll always be grateful for the 10 years I was straight edge. It gave me lifelong friendships and the confidence to break free of the mainstream. I will always cherish the memories from my straight edge years, but I'm moving on without it. Looking toward the future and not living for the past.